Everybody, let's welcome you to the Operations Committee, December 10th. We're in conference room E. This is a remote hybrid conference meeting. And those in the room at this time, Ingrid Boatwright, Mr. Otting, myself, Tricia Fidrich, and Molly Mercado. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Otting. All right, and let's see, who is joining us via Zoom?
David was there a second ago, but I think he dropped off.
Okay. I thought I saw Mr. Strivenger, but I don't at this time, so. Okay, good. And it is being broadcast on the county channel, and hopefully Mr. Strivenger will join back in. All right, next thing on our agenda is to approve the agenda. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda? So moved. Okay, I will second it. We do have a quorum. 2 out of 3 of us are here. So all in favor? Aye. Aye. Unanimous. And Ms. Mercado, any public comment?
I don't have any.
No public comment. So we're going to move into Oe4 Personnel Administration. That is going to be presented by the Human Resources Department. Ms. Walton is the Chief of Human Resources. And I spoke with her earlier, so I know she will be in attendance, and I imagine she is probably on her way. So we're going to just wait a few minutes because Ms. Walton will be presenting most of what is on today's agenda. So I believe Mr. Otting has gone to let her know that we started.
Please enjoy this old music.
That's one.
They have determined that there is no current threat. Crazy. So we're going to sit here and kill each other. Okay.
Knowing that we're being broadcast.
Might be spliced into the television, and you never know.
She thought it was at 3. She's coming right now.
Robert, thank you for that.
We're going a long way.
Yeah.
The most boring show on county channel TV.
Yeah, I guess I didn't mention to Ms. Walton, or didn't verify with her by the time I see her. No wonder she looked at her watch when I was down there earlier, because she was like,
You're really
"You were going to leave and come back?" She's like, "No, I'm just going to go down and grab."
In the meantime,
Mhm.
this is Glee's Christmas album, so I don't know.
Okay, do you like Glee?
Do I like it?
Are you like one of these? Because my husband likes all that Glee pentatonic stuff.
Oh, I do like pentatonics. And I have my girls like Glee. So I'd say yes. It's not something I would have gone to, but
Yeah, no, that would be him. Yeah.
it kind of, you start to like it after a while.
I'm not sure I know Glee.
It was basically a
That show that was on TV?
TV show,
Oh, okay.
but they did several versions of different songs, and then
Oh,
pentatonics came out, and I like pentatonics fine. But
I
people
love-
are obsessed with pentatonics.
Do you like pentatonics?
Okay, well then you and my husband should hang out sometime this Christmas. Get it all out of your system.
for those watching on County Channel, I'm just going to reiterate that we have started the meeting, and it's just been a busy Friday, and we're just waiting for Miss Walton to get here. She was dealing with something, so she'll be down in just a minute. You'll probably cut this out anyway.
Ah,
Don't they
Mr. Smith.
do they edit?
No,
When they're in the meeting,
No, but I mean, when they upload their packet.
before you start the meeting, after you adjourn.
Okay, all right. Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Wendy Cartledge joined the meeting.
David Scribinger.
Joined the meeting.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Hey, everybody. Hi.
Alice always comes with an entourage.
That's it.
There is plenty of room at the table.
Yeah, I sat back, I don't
Yeah,
have
I
a
was
park
filling the
today.
container. I was.
I know, I was gonna say.
No, I'm not, so feel free.
There's, yeah.
Jill, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I like your pants are kind of festive.
Kind of, yeah. Okay, so we started the meeting at 2, so we're just, we're on the county channel, so we're just, kind of just listening to some Christmas music until we all assemble. But it is broadcasting live, right?
Yes.
Molly?
I do.
I'm sorry, come back. Was that holding that time? So, yeah, they're all good. But it was a tense moment. It's all.
Okay, are we all going to swap?
I believe we are on.
Okay, and I don't know why they don't want to join us at the table, but it's like a classroom, you sit in the very back of the class, right?
That's the trouble section. We don't want to be.
No, that's fine, that's fine. Okay, so we did start the meeting, I just want to let you know it's being broadcast live, right, as we speak. So. All right, so the next item on our agenda is Oe4 Personnel Administration. And I just want to, before Ms. Walton presents Oe4 to us, I just want to read to everybody what Oe4 operational expectations states. It's personnel administration. The superintendent shall ensure the recruitment, employment, development, evaluation, and compensation of district employees in a manner necessary to enable the Beaufort County School District to achieve its results policies. So Ms. Walton provided to us on the committee several documents with evidence supporting the this OE. And so she is going to share with us and answer any questions that anyone might have. After having previewed and looked at the documents prior to this meeting, if we have any concerns or questions about it. So Ms. Walton, over to you, please.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir.
The expectation for OE4 is the superintendent shall ensure the recruitment, employment, development, evaluation, and compensation of district employees in a manner necessary to enable the BCSD to achieve the results policies. We have, OE4 contains 12 subsections, but what we've done is looked at the subsections, gave superintendent interpretations, as you can see, as presented with the completed OE. And you will find that under recruitment and employment, we have screening processes in place. We have recruiting for candidates that include partnering with USCB as well as other colleges. We have systems in place in order to advertise and collect applications for hiring as candidates. We've maintained job descriptions in a system, our electronic system called Frontline Central. Our administrative employment guidelines are governed by HRS 21. Our development, evaluation, and compensation of employees are included in our systems controlling our certification of employees, as well as our classified employees. All employees are evaluated annually by state-supported evaluation systems for certified staff and district-held evaluation models for classified staff. Compensation is controlled by a district salary schedules. All salaries and compensations are based on that schedule and is used diligently and with fidelity when any staff is hired or promoted within the district. Within the OE itself, we have different artifacts listed. If you noted, they are hyperlinked for any questions you might have, or any systems you might want to look at. When we talk about supporting employees, we have in place our benefits department. We also have a system for employee grievances that is also hyperlinked that you can have access to. We have put in place support for emotional health for employees. You will have access to that initiative as well. Are there any questions that I can answer?
Before we jump into the questions, I just want to also provide for anybody that may be listening or just for our own edification, that the purpose of the committee's work is to really dive deeply into this OE. Okay, this is pretty much where they get down to asking specific questions, determining whether or not the evidence provided supports that the superintendent does in fact ensure the recruitment, employment, development, evaluation, and compensation of district employees. So I just want to share that this is where we dive into it, we get deep into it, we ask questions about it. So that's our purpose. And then at the end of this, we would then recommend acceptance or not to the full board at the next meeting. So let's go ahead and dive into it. And I will ask if there are any questions from the committee members. Mr. Smith, would you like to start? No, Ms. Boatwright? Okay, no questions about anything in the OE. Okay, then I'm going to ask a question. So part of the OE subsection 4.7 talks about job descriptions. You provided for us a link for job descriptions, and I got it. And it took me to, what's Track, right? Right. So I was able to see job descriptions for any vacancies that we have. But I was not able to see a job description for other jobs in the district. And so I think that part of this says that, maintaining job descriptions for all staff. Where would we see that? How could we access a job description?
So I guess I can start off and then I'll let the experts chime in. Our job descriptions are housed in Frontline Central, which is our applicant tracking system. It is also our employee filing system. It is the core of HR. And the job descriptions now currently only exist to the outside viewer. If you're not a super user, like someone in HR, and you don't have a position posted, you cannot see applications of job descriptions of jobs that are not posted. You only see the ones of jobs that are posted. And I'm gonna let Dale dive into why you cannot see the other job descriptions. They exist, they're just not visible to someone that's not a super user.
Yeah, currently the way the system holds the information, before we went to AppleTrack and Frontline Central, we were using another system that provided those job descriptions to the public. When we moved over to Frontline Central and AppleTrack, that was one of the functionalities that we lost, but yet we gained so many other functionalities with this system. If an employee wanted to see a job description, they would be able to talk with their office manager, and their office manager would be able to pull those job descriptions that they wanted to see. There's a system upgrade coming out in January of 2022. I'm not sure if that's going to change that process in order to post it so that they can see all the job descriptions, but right now, only the principals, super users, office managers are able to see any job descriptions that are not posted as a vacancy.
And I think to add to that too, we're in the process of a salary study right now that we just started. That's about a 9-month process. And as a result of that salary study, some job descriptions may change a little bit. So the updating, I think, with what's going to happen in Frontline Central in January, and then the recommendations from the salary study may change some of those descriptions as well, moving into the next school year.
So Ms. Pritchard, is your question job descriptions available for employees or for everyone, for the public?
Look, I wouldn't think of a job description as a confidential document, correct?
It's not.
It's not confidential.
So I wouldn't think it. So I do have some concern that it's not accessible to the public.
Okay. And also, if you visit a lot of the other school districts, you can't see their job descriptions either. If you go to their website and go to Human Resources, you can't see a lot. Some of them are out there. Not all the school districts publish their job descriptions, but there are some school districts that have published their job descriptions. But
Dale, other than a inability because of a computer software program, are there reasons not to publish it?
I don't believe so. No. You
So-
know, another way that we could publish all the job descriptions once, if the upgrade does not afford us that opportunity, then another way we can do, we can always pull them out in a PDF, and we can post them on the website as a PDF file as well.
Okay. There have been several new jobs created in the past 6 months. Okay. It's an area of interest in the public. People have said, so now, because I have promoted and thought that some of these new job positions could certainly help lead our district forward. Well, what are those job descriptions? I couldn't access it. So I think it's crucial.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, because actually I was at the gas station and someone was just asking me about a staff member particularly, and what their job description. She said that what their job description is, and I told them, I said like assistant superintendent. Well, I couldn't really answer it, but I did tell them not for crazy. I said go to the website, and the person that they're like, it's not on the website. They're like, that position is not even on the website. And so I said it has to be. So that it is merit to that. And I didn't realize, and I was just, it was crazy that we bought this up, and I was just having that conversation probably about 30 minutes at the gas station when someone was asking me what someone's position was, and I couldn't really expound on that. But I did tell them to go to the website. I said it should be. They told me no, it's not there. So that is something that really hurts for us to make a long story short, I only think it hurts for us to expound and also what the criteria of the job is. Because that makes it crystal clear, because if someone else might want to apply for that job, that person left, and everything will be right there.
Well, usually, if I'm not mistaken, if we post a position, the job description is there.
Yes, it is there.
Yeah.
So they can post it, yes.
It's vacant.
So if the position is not posted, then the position is not available. I'm trying to understand why a person would be interested in the job description if we don't have the position available.
Well,
And that's just for my clarification.
There's several reasons why. And to answer that, there's several reasons, because people want to know when they see a certain salary, or when they see a certain, or when they see somebody move from one level to another, they want to know what's the difference in this position. So therefore, if you have a principal, assistant principal, what's the difference levels to it, or just besides the compensation. So that helps you to see what you're working towards. You know, is it really a lateral move, or do you go from 260 to what's the other number in days?
210.
So it's going from 190 to 210. Is it really worth it? So I mean, and you look and you start looking at different criteria, and that's what makes the difference for people, from my understanding.
And so this is for people that are interested in a position, maybe down the road, or is it just?
The public.
no, that's public. This is for someone, anyone who wants to see a job, any job in the district at any given time, filled or unfilled.
And as a public entity funded by taxpayers, when salaries are disseminated and job descriptions should be aligned with it to know exactly what the expectation is. So that is a concern for me, that that's not viewable by all. I don't want to monopolize.
No, that's just that is one. And also, applying for the job, when people apply for it, what are the procedures in the form of letting them know that you received their applications?
The system automatically generates an email and responds immediately to the individual that their application has been received and accepted. So every single
Or is it something new? Or?
It's always been in there since we've had AppleTrack. Every single person who applies and submits their application gets an email automatically from the system stating that we've received your application and it has been accepted.
And how about when the position gets filled?
And once the position gets filled, then we notify those individuals that have applied that they did not receive. If they received an interview, of course, it's a different email they received. If they apply, then that's a different email they received as well. But the system generates all the emails to the applicants if they applied and did not get an interview, or if they applied and did not get selected.
Right. And just to address, honestly, that we're going to understudy, but that is something that I think that we should. I think 9 months is a little long to be waiting for that to be posted. I do think that we should have that, but I'm not sure. I do think that we should have that posted, the job descriptions and what jobs we have in addition, because like was said, that I do believe that we do have certain constituents who are looking for that and that level of accountability that is public information.
So, Mr. Smith, I don't know if, and correct me if I'm wrong, the study is not going to create job descriptions.
Right.
Job descriptions already exist.
Right.
It might tweak some job descriptions, but those jobs are already there, the descriptions are already there.
Right.
And if what you are asking is for us to create a PDF to go on the website before we see if our new system will handle it, is that the question you're asking us to do?
Yeah. I remember Mr. Hunt made reference to that reason why they weren't there, they were not there because they were waiting for the new system. I mean, they were waiting for the they were waiting for the study to happen, and after the study, then I guess they would see. You know, it's how I interpret it. If I interpret it wrong, is that after the study is when they would probably go out and do that. And what I'm saying is that I think that it would be more beneficial and more transparent if we would not wait to study and do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, the study really doesn't have anything to do with job descriptions, other than just changing, tweaking existing.
Right.
Yes.
I didn't mean to be unclear about that. It wouldn't take 9 months for us to get that up.
Yeah. So, okay.
I have a point of order.
Yes, thank you.
Just for people to know, my son was at Hillhead High, which is in a lockdown, part of a series of lockdowns went out across the district today, so I've been hopping up and down. The superintendent's asked that when Candace comes, if we could go ahead and stop the human resources section, let her do her portion so she can get back to dealing with all the communication that's going on our district-wide sort of security issues we're having today. So she's gonna come in on the Zoom at some point. Is that reasonable?
I think it is reasonable given the climate of what has occurred.
Yeah, I'd like her to be able to get back to communicating with parents as soon as possible.
Right. So I would apologize if, using her time, it's valuable, I apologize. So,
Do you know what time she's coming?
No, as soon as she finishes up there, she thought it was at 3.
Okay.
So she's gonna pop it on the Zoom.
Okay. I also want to, I think that's fine. Let us know when she comes in and we'll hear that. I also want to just logistically a little bit share with everybody that we did have a 4-hour workshop with Peggy Torrey this week, who the workshop was about coherent governance. And we had a lot of conversation about OEs and committee work and so on. So when I heard you ask Mr. Smith, is this what you want us to do? I'm going to recommend that if there's an area in this OE, such as this, that you feel needs some more work, evidence supplied, processes changed, whatever, that when it comes time to recommend to accept this OE, we have some exceptions. And perhaps the noted exception would be 4.1, job descriptions. And that goes to Dr. Rodriguez. And then Dr. Rodriguez will determine how to ensure that that particular section of this OE is taken care of. Instead of us directing you to put PDFs on the website of all job descriptions, okay? So everybody good with how I believe that this is the way that this is supposed to proceed. So that's why it's so crucial in committee that you have prepared to know what's in here so that we can ask these questions. And then if the answer is not supplied, the evidence is not produced, we will take that section out of the acceptance of the OE or reject the entire OE, but we will give it to Dr. Rodriguez in that manner. They will determine how to comply and show evidence of compliance that maintaining adequate job descriptions for all staff. Now, does that mean making it public? I think you're hearing that we expect that to be part of it. So does that sound good?
That's fine.
Instead of trying to direct, okay. All right, any other thoughts about 4.7? I mean, that's the one that, okay. All right, what about other sections as we prepare for today's meeting? Are there any questions about the evidence supplied? Yes, sir, Mr. Smith.
In 4.10, employee evaluations.
Okay.
My question in terms of evaluation, what in terms of evaluation, what is the evaluation process? In terms of from what does this cover? I mean, what does this cover?
In all employees. So you have classes of employees.
Right.
You have administrators, you have teachers, and you have classified staff. So each one of those groups of employees have their separate evaluation models. The principal's models governed by the State Department. Teacher models governed by the State Department. That means they create a model, we follow them, we present the results to them, they keep it in their portal, we have access to the portal. Classified staff have evaluation instruments that's created locally. So those instruments are kept locally in HR, in a file, so that all principals and managers can access, so that classified staff can be evaluated. Those are created here, and they're based on performance standards, I believe 8 performance standards. And across the board, we model all of the evaluations to center around standards. So the evaluations are fair and equitable also.
So during COVID, have the State Department gave us any different, any different leeway, or have they discontinued the evaluations at any point for anyone?
They did not discontinue. They gave us some reprieve on some areas, but they did not discontinue. Everyone was still there.
On every level. And really, State Department only gives you direction basically on administrators and teachers.
They actually create the model courses.
So
In the evaluation tool.
Right, the tool, right. And yeah. Is there a place I can find a sample of that for the general public? Is there, like, or is that?
It's hyperlinked in this
It's right in
document.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
So for the principals, it's a PADEP, PADEPP. If you find it, there's a blue link down there, and on page the following page, there should be one for PADEP. Yeah, those are public domain.
Could I also just clarify something for the public's knowledge? As I understand, and I'm familiar with the ADEP process, nothing's changed where teachers are evaluated on student test results. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct.
So teachers are not evaluated on student, because I've heard that out in the public somewhere that, well, teachers, testing did not occur this year. So how are you evaluating teachers? And so I just wanted to verify nothing's changed in the 3 years since I've been, teachers are not evaluated on test scores.
They never have it.
Never have been. It was just, when we had TAP, it was an ancillary kind of a,
Attached to
a TAP model, but, right, so. Okay,
They're
yes, sir,
evaluated on 4 domains, which has been standard for
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you having a question? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, because this is the first time that we've actually looked at this OE and said, okay, these are the types of pieces of evidence that will support. Okay. So my concern when I saw this was sending to which model you use. Okay, I was anticipating that maybe there might be, we have conducted 37 ADEPT, just more, something more quantitative as far as how principals evaluations, okay? How many principals, have been evaluated, it's done once a year. I mean, just something more specific to Beaufort County School District so that we know that there's evidence that it's being done. Do you understand what I was thinking that some of the evidence might look like? So to put it down into like a teacher's world, let's say you're going in and evaluating a teacher, right? And she says, here are my plans, let's go to Rubicon. And so there's evidence that I'm doing in the classroom of what you see in Rubicon. As a principal, would you have accepted, just know what's going on in her classroom? So I was just equating it this way. This is a state level that says this is how you evaluate principals, this is how we evaluate teachers. What does it look like in Beaufort County School District? When are these evaluations done? How many, who does them? That goes back to the job description. So do the executive directors now do the evaluations of principals?
Yes.
So do you see what I'm saying with trying to monitor without getting down into something more specific to Beaufort County, not just the state program we use to evaluate teachers and principals? Am I off base?
No, you are, because that's a good question, because I don't know that enough time people ask me that, and I feel like where that question come from, and some people feel that should be talking about like is there a group, like certain school districts have like different groups that come in and evaluate you, and you know who those people are.
Okay, so
Okay.
let me see if I can.
And again, because it's the first time that we're doing it this way, you might say, well, Ms. Biggers, I don't know how we would quantitate that. You know, how do we quantify that? Or how do we present information that's not private and confidential, because I don't want to go near there, but just demonstrate that the superintendent has ensured that these are getting done.
Okay, so let's take the teachers.
Okay.
1,700 teachers.
Right.
All teachers are evaluated by formal evaluation or informal.
Right.
So we have the number 1,700 out there. So we could say out of the 1,700 teachers, there were 500 teachers that went through formal evaluation, which is the model that you clicked on at State Point.
Right.
Then you have 1,100 teachers that went through informal evaluation.
In this time period, in this
In
academic year.
this year,
Right.
which would mean that would be your goals-based evaluation, which would be a formative evaluation,
Right.
formative evaluation, not something. So we can tell you how many teachers were evaluated because they all must be evaluated. Then you can break it down to what level of evaluation they actually get.
Yes, that is certainly information. It's certainly specific to Beaufort County School District, which is, and it also kind of gives us an idea, okay, these principals, of which there are 31 principals, are conducting a total of 1,100 evaluations. Okay, it's a significant amount of time. It shows the public that teachers, principals are in the classrooms doing these evaluations. It's just some more information to understand the workings and to show evidence of this is what's happening. The evaluation part of this OE.
So we could go as far as we want to, because we can tell you how many teams were set up in the district, how many evaluators we used in the district, how many schools had evaluations and what level of evaluations each one of those schools had.
Mm-hmm.
We can tell you who passed, who didn't pass.
Well, not who, but
I mean the numbers.
how many.
Well, actually, you know what I learned, that actually teachers' evaluations are not private. That is public information. And they said that the school board conference and at the state level, actually, that is the only person evaluation that is private is a superintendent. But individual teachers' evaluations are not private.
Well, I'm going to make a state right here. I'm not asking for
Oh,
individual teachers'
I
evaluations.
just wanted to let you know.
No,
that
thank you for that.
Someone bring that up. I mean, you can check into that, but from my understanding that a teacher evaluation is not private.
Okay,
I would have to check.
Yeah.
right. So that's what I'm saying. I let you know.
So we could get deep down into the evaluations because we can provide you with evaluation calendar to tell you the dates that portions of the evaluation took place.
Right. So, Ms. Walton, I don't want to task you all with that level. I think just something more germane to Beaufort County School District and our evaluation process, instead of linking it to that everybody in the state uses this, the principals and everybody in the state uses that. I also think it also provides information by providing that kind of information, it shows the intense amount of human resources required to ensure that evaluations are.
Well, it is a state mandate, but we do tailor it to our job.
Oh, yeah, we don't.
We tailor.
Yeah, the state sets the minimum.
So yeah, state sense again, we tailor.
And you provided us the state level, not
Yes.
what Beaufort County School District does. That's just what I'm asking. I think it's important to know what we do, not just hyperlink it to what, I mean, otherwise, like I said, as a teacher, here are my lesson plans, go to Rubicon.
And
And you know,
for instance, we provide all of the teachers with mentors.
I know, right.
That goes in and helps support.
And that's crucial to know. You mentioned mentors in here. I know we have mentors, but there might be many that don't. And it's crucial to know how this is going to be the oversight. This is this big level oversight here. And any of that information ensures us that we know that the evaluations of our staff, principals, whatever is being conducted. But but not so much down on the level of a calendar as well. Do you know what I mean?
I'm
Oh, I would never want.
Telling you the depth that we can go to. I think, you know,
we can
when
go
it,
all the way down.
right, and looking at the criteria, we look at all employees and all employees are evaluated. So you want us to quantify the all.
At least some level of information that's more, again, germane to Beaufort County and what we're doing and just showing how hard everyone is working and that the evaluation really is, I mean, people are being evaluated as to their job performance.
Well, we use that ADEPT system to monitor our progress, to make sure that all of our principals go in. So we know when they've gone in and we know when they've signed off on the evaluation. So all of that,
That's
and
great.
we're in the process now, of looking at all of that.
Okay, and that's good to know, that you all are making sure that the principals are doing their ADEP. I know it's on a timeline for, you know, so I'm sorry, go ahead, Ms. Boatright.
One question I have, does the ADEP evaluation system, is it interoperable with AppleTrack, or you guys having to like toggle back and forth?
It's state only.
So you can't, they don't communicate with AppleTrack. Do they offer a software program that communicates with ADEP?
That's in South Carolina.
That's South
SC.
That is South Carolina.
South Carolina.
SCV.
SCV, yeah.
Okay.
Now, one thing I will say is that I think that the more information is good, but in terms of the more, I can agree with not that, but I think what that will also do is, because I've had teachers that have called and have asked questions like, well, let me ask you this, well, you know, I just had an observation, and now they're getting 3 or 4 more weeks here. I've had like 6 observations in 1 week, and like what's going on. And so I think that if it's
That's not true, Mr. Smith. They're based on their ADEPT process, they're only allowed, it's a 7-day window. Now they can do walkthroughs, which a principal can walk in a classroom at any time, as many times, but they can't have an integral observation. It has to be 45 minutes. And another person can't come in and observe them for another 7 days. If that happens, we've asked them to contact us because that invalidates the process. They can't do that.
okay. Well, this is what I'm saying. Even if it does or it doesn't, I think it would be great to have that spread out so that teachers can go and look at, even though some teachers, they do know it, but if it's on our website, what we what the program that the district formalizes and what they have, we have 6 DEP teams, and this is the process. I think
It's there. That calendar we're talking about talks very specific about what the windows are for observations, what the timeframes are, who can and who cannot, and all teachers understand that they have to go through an orientation before they go through evaluation.
Every year.
So every year, so they understand what should happen and what shouldn't happen, and then there's an appeal process that goes along with that.
right. So what she's asking for, it's already out there. What you're saying?
It's already happened.
Yes, and they have to sign off that they've been through the orientation and that they understand the formal evaluation process or whatever evaluation process they're.
Right. And I know that it's out there. It's just not presented as evidence. That was what I'm saying, is that this right here can't be based just on my personal knowledge of what I know about ADEPT or whatever. It has to be open for anyone to have read this monitoring report to say, okay, this is how I feel so confident that Dr. Rodriguez has in place the processes necessary to evaluate X position.
So, Mr. Smith, before a teacher can be observed, they have to go through orientation. They cannot be evaluated before the process. They have to have orientation. And during that orientation, they go through all the steps. So they can't be evaluated until they go through orientation. And we have that documentation on the insurance form.
Okay. So but that's what you're asking them to put on this information area, correct?
I'm asking them to use their professional opinion on what could personalize the evaluation process for Beaufort County School District instead of linking it to the state website and saying this is evidence that we're doing it, because it's not, that's a tool. It's not the evidence that it's being done.
Right, so that's what we're going to have to read this down.
Exactly.
Ms. Fidrich?
Yes, David, please.
I'm at a real disadvantage because I'm on the phone, but one other thing that I would like to know, Alice, is that all, X number were done and they were all done on time. That none of them were done late. That would make me smile.
Well, you can smile.
So David, those kind of metrics would be, I think, very personalized to supporting evidence to ensure that this OE was being met.
Right.
What idea do you have?
And I'm sure they were done on time, but that's just a classic metric, They were all done on time. Everybody got their evaluation when they should have, so.
Okay.
You just add that would be a good metric, I think. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
4.13. How's that measured? That's good.
Okay. All right. You guys again, I apologize. All right. Dr. Bruder.
Hello.
Hi, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
No, thank you for fitting me in.
Okay, so Dr. Bruder, you are here to present to us the superintendent's interpretation. Okay, OE10, communicating with the board. And,
yes.
And OE2, superintendent succession planning.
I believe that Alice is going to do the OE2.
Okay.
Is Ms. Walton there?
Yes, she is.
Okay.
So Mr. Smith, Ms. Boatwright, Ms. Walton, and her entire team, Mr. Otting, myself, Molly, we're here.
Great.
So if you would like to go ahead then and start with your part, since I know that you have many communications to disperse today.
No, thank you very much. I appreciate it. So in terms of this communicating with the board, we, obviously did the interpretation for that to make sure that there's a system in place for establishing, reporting on, and monitoring goals, sharing that information with the board. We interpret this to have materials submitted in a timely manner that are, comprehensive but concise, but to have additional background information when necessary. Especially, we like to notify the board of significant media interviews and publicity if there's significant incidents, on school grounds or athletic facilities or on buses. If a staff member or a student is arrested and law enforcement is involved. The superintendent will also report to the board budget transfers greater than $50,000, administrative actions and decisions that are delegated to the superintendent and required by law to be approved, and any significant changes to instructional programming or district-wide initiatives that impact, educators, employees, parents, or community partners. And then there's a section in here about if an employee is arrested or suspended from their duties as per the OE, that the superintendent will inform the board. You can see those bullets there. Additionally, that revisions to administrative regulations must be presented to the board committees for review and discussion. And that, the last part is talking about having a positive working relationship with the board. And when differences of opinions arise, to have direct communication takes place, encouraging positive interactions in board meetings. For the monitoring indicators, we had emails to the board, timely submissions to board docs, board minutes and documents demonstrating presentations and information shared with the board that are organized, free of errors, and aligned appropriately for decision-making, informational, or monitoring purposes.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Are there any questions for Dr. Bruder? Ms. Boatright?
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bruder. Thanks for all your help today.
Sure.
So this is not on interpreting the OE as much as one of the things we talked about with Peggy Torrey was this idea of an executive summary. So when I read, we recognize that meeting materials should be submitted in a timely manner as a comprehensive and concise summary with adequate background information when necessary. Is that something you guys are looking at for the upcoming meetings, changing the format on that? I know it's not really pertinent to the interpretation, so I'm not going to say like it should be in the interpretation per se.
Yeah, that's my understanding.
Okay. Because I feel like that's an area where we could be doing a little bit more on.
Yes.
Great. I thank you so much.
Okay.
No, thank you.
And also, when you send out these memos of things that happen, my question is, it's almost like writing a paper, there's a beginning, a middle, and end. You know, it's like there's no end. It's just like, this is what, this is what, I mean, when you send out to most things have BOE, senior staff, and the rest of the school district. So, I mean, it's like, you send them out to everyone. But my question is, there's no end for the board if something happened. How do we know that it's, except for like the lockdowns, you may say everything was clear. But in terms of some of these, incidents, there's still questions around, and what goes on. I mean, that is something that I am in. It's almost like we're left in limbo. And to me, I mean, on some board members that might not be a concern to them, but to me, that is a concern to me. It's almost like I'm in the dark about some of these situations.
Do you want to respond to that at all, Dr. Bruder?
I think I don't have the whole OE right in front of me because I'm at a school right now. But I think the OE was pretty specific to notify the board when things happen. And so that's what we do in terms of on our daily updates.
Okay. Ms. Boatright?
Yeah, I just want to kind of jump in on this because, so personal to me right now, when I got text message that my son's school was in a full lockdown and I was in the district, and I want to know exactly what's happening. When did it come in? But the reality is it's not appropriate for me to know exactly what's happening because law enforcement's now involved. There's confidentiality, there's a process, there's, things are going on. So, I think to Mr. Smith's point, I think sometimes we can't know. We want to know, even when it's, directly impacting not only your constituents, but your family.
Well, not necessarily. When I can care less of when it came in and all that. So my thing about it is I like closure on, they tell us different things that are going on in the district, but we hear nothing else about them. So it's like it's in Mars somewhere. Well, you gave us, well, what's the point of you telling me about this took place if you're not telling me that, what goes along with it? You're telling me the door is pink, but what does that look like? Because to some degree, I'm held responsible as an official to know if something happened, what that looks like.
Okay, so what I'm hearing, Dr. Bruder, is that, if I may, Mr. Smith, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that you would prefer more detail. Ms. Boatright, you feel that communication is sufficient. I personally feel the communication is sufficient. If I need more information, I would pick up the phone and call Dr. Rodriguez. So, I mean, there's a finite amount of time to disseminate information and then to circle back around and so on. So I think that if that's a concern that you have about there's enough information, maybe you should put.
Well, it's not about that. It's not about enough information. It's about closure and knowing that everything is okay, or that there was a resolve, and it was handled in a way that the form that it's conducive.
Okay.
Because it's different when you hear about something and then next thing you know you don't hear anything else.
See, I don't want. Sorry,
Please do.
I don't want to be I want to be on a need to know basis, and I want to rely on Dr. Rodriguez's professional judgment. And if something comes up where I felt like he should have told us more, I'll give him a call. But the truth is, as a board member, I don't see myself as a source of information. It should be managed through the communications office and a lot of times through the sheriff's office. I mean, a lot of these things, we've got other interagencies involved. So I don't expect my constituents to come to me and say, whatever happened with that. I think that being on a need to know basis is probably fine for me as a board member.
Well, for instance, just like, we heard about the lockdown, about the one lockdown that happened in one of the schools. Then we also, in turn, had a hearing on it. And as a board member, I saw certain things in that, when we had a hearing that concerned me, that there were some of the same concerns that when we were sent the message, but the message was, it was in the middle, we were not it was a conversation. So when we get that information and people are calling us and telling us different things, then probably that things are being remedied. And in the way that as stewards of the district that we would want them to be.
Right. Okay. So I think that for these purposes of the superintendent's interpretation of this, that we are asking you to, Dr. Bruder, to notify the board with emails as you have done. And at this time, I would like to say, Mr. Smith, if you need more information about a particular subject, then we have many avenues by which we can get more information. All right. As far as putting a requirement in this OE that we have significant increase in emails, I wouldn't necessarily agree with. Okay. So,
Ms. Fidrich?
yes, sir. Yes, Dave.
Thank you. Yeah, it's hard for me to figure out when to try to jump in. I think the interpretation is correct, and that's what the point of this is. The interpretation is correct. I think it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would agree with David on that point also. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Campbell. All right. So,
No, basically what I'm bringing up is, I guess what I'm bringing up is a different issue. But if you're going to inform me, then my thing about it is, if inform me the whole way, not half of the way. Don't give me some information, then don't give me the rest, because I mean.
Okay. So, Mr. Smith, we have several avenues available to us to get more.
Well, I'm not aware of them. But I'll leave that alone.
Okay. No, I mean, you can call Dr. Rodriguez. He is your direct line to information, direct line. So, I think that you have had the superintendent's interpretation of OE10. I find it appropriate. Is there a motion to be made?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we recommend to the full board of acceptance.
I know,
Acceptance of the superintendent's interpretation of OE10 to be placed on the consent agenda.
I will second that.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, that would be the next thing I would ask. Okay, so.
Well, if you second, then you pass it.
No, sir, not in small board rules. And we can I'll show you that later. I looked it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely see that.
Okay, not for small boards.
Okay.
And 3 people is a small board.
Okay.
So I will second that. Any discussion?
No,
No? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
I oppose.
Okay, 2-1, the motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Bruder.
Great, thank you very much. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You also.
Thanks.
Again, for the interruption, thank you for your patience. Let's go ahead and get back to OE4. And I believe, Mr. Smith, you were starting to ask about 4.13.
4.13.
Yes, sir.
I want to know how was this being how was it being evaluated? How was it being measured? What's the process of measuring this?
We talked at the upbeat, that was like, and something that jumped out at me right here, this upbeat survey.
So, Mrs. Smith, what we do is try to monitor the pulse, try to keep our hand on the pulse of the organization. And one of the things that we instituted this year, and we're in the second phase of that, it's called Upbeat, and it is a climate survey that we give to all of our employees across the board. It's done by an outside company. We don't touch it. We don't have anything to do with it. It runs through their technology. They send the emails. They get the results. They compile the results, and they send it to us for us to monitor. We take that information and look at the areas that we need to work on in order to produce a clear, comfortable working environment for all employees. That includes administrators, teachers, classified staff, anyone in the district. So that's how we measure that.
Is that the only way you measure that?
Well, we have our internals. We have support organizations, support systems that are in place for employees to access. Each building principal have their own little programs within their districts, within their schools, to make sure that their environment is comfortable for employees.
If I may. So how long is the survey? How many? This is the second year?
This is the second round.
Yes.
Okay, so is there data to share from the first round?
We have data, but we really don't have, we have not been given permission to share that data yet.
So here's what we've shared today. We have data by school. We share that data with principals. Principals then are given the luxury of having coaches to come in to work with them on areas of refinement in their buildings. Here's where you're good in, here's where the work needs to be done, and they have outside coaches to come in to work with them. So they set goals for themselves for their own individual schools. And each manager has that same thing. And these coaches are ex-superintendents, ex-managers, and they're not a part of our organizations. So we are not in this at all. So that data is used to tweak and improve the organization based on the survey results, but it's done all externally.
Not here, okay. Okay, that's very interesting information. I think that would have been fabulous to have included, to understand that. So as part of this Upbeat survey, once it's analyzed by school, coaches are hired by whom? From the Upbeat, by Upbeat. So how many coaches have we had come in to help change the climate in schools?
I believe we have coach working with each.
We have two, there's actually two executive coaches that work with the principals.
That works
Yeah,
with the
there's a secondary and an elementary. Or
And they
secondary
work
primary.
in conjunction with the EDs.
Yeah.
And with our EDs.
That actually was kind of my question. I thought, when I read that, I was thinking the executive directors come in and do the upbeat results, not an external hire.
Well, they do get the results, the executive directors.
It just seems like that'd be a job function for executive directors. Yes, but I mean, that's.
Well, what it is, it's, you know, it's having an outside party that's unbiased, that doesn't know anybody in the district, to be able to come in and look at
Sure.
through a more objective lens, and then being able to provide just different industry experience. The two executive coaches are not even South Carolinians, so they have experience in other states, which organizationally helps, I think, our principals, because they have somebody that they don't know that can provide them direction and feedback. So
I think it's a great idea. This is all part of the Upbeat cost, the cost of this whole program, survey, and then the analysis, and then the anticipated resolutions of concerns.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. Ms. Boatright?
This is also getting off topic.
David, after
Go
this
ahead, let
vote.
David.
Okay, David, go ahead.
Yeah, what I would like is to throw some numbers on that. You know, how many coaching sessions, you know, that would be a number I'd be interested in.
And then my thing, and this,
You know, 'cause
so,
it sounds, there's a good process there, but how many times, you know, how many times is it used? And that would give me a picture.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So I think that, again, we're going off, this OE, the evidence, I think that's good evidence of compliance with positive organizational culture. I do think at some point it's worth discussing, like, we're not vetting these executive, I would like to know more about these executive coaches at some other time in the HR thing and how they work and what their criteria is, et cetera, because that sort of school culture is a big thing that we've tasked Frank with. That's one of our big results. And just making sure that, like you said, not from South Carolina, there's just so much weirdness in the world right now. Knowing who these people are, what their background is, what their intentions are when they come in and take this survey data and work with their principals. But like you said, I'm not concerned because the executive directors are involved as well. But that's something I wasn't aware of, and it might be worth another conversation unrelated to the acceptance of the OE.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't realize that our executive directors work with these coaches. I thought that's who, like you said, it's who these coaches were. So that would be in their job description, probably, the executive directors. So, okay. So again, did you want to say that?
In terms of the evaluation,
The survey, or are you going back?
I'm excuse my apologies, the survey.
Okay.
And then in terms, thank you.
That's okay.
In terms of the survey, I've had several employees who say, well, and this is something that, how you actually checking the culture, and I said, and my thing was evaluation, because I remember that's what, that really someone brought one meeting. And they were like, we don't trust those evaluations when the principal can come to me and tell me, only 75% of the building has done evaluation. Well, she can come and tell me that she knows or he knows who done it, who hadn't done it. And so I tried to convince a couple employees or someone who opposed that no, that's not true. This is outside. Listen, so my thing is if the employees don't trust it, then what's have we come with an alternative, because I don't believe that this is enough, or this is, because this is definitely not one size fit all, but there also a group of people out there who we're not getting to. And so, and I guess I'm not going to weeds, but my question is, how about those people getting their climate check as well? Because you probably several people who are not having a problem, but the people who are, they're afraid to do it. And they're not doing these surveys because that's what they feel that the principals or that y'all at the district can get this information, and so therefore they're afraid to do it.
Mr. Smith, we take the anonymity very seriously in these surveys. We put out communications to all staff members regarding the anonymity and the fact that no principal or no district level employee can see who submitted any survey. What the principals have access to is the % of surveys completed in their building, but they don't have any access to who did the surveys. The other thing that Upbeat guarantees and that they've done and I've seen is that they don't allow any data to be given disaggregated by any group less than 4. So if there are less than 4 employees in a subgroup, then that principal cannot see that information. So what that means is, let's say, for example, a staff has 3 African-American male teachers. A principal cannot go in and disaggregate the information and set that as a filter to see what those African-American male teachers put down as their survey results, because there are 3 in the subgroup. So there's no way to be able to identify and trace that information back to any one individual or even a small group of teachers. So, and that was very clearly communicated in several communications from Human Resources.
Right, and that's exactly my point, Mr. Hunter. You don't have to convince me, but what I am saying is that I've done some of the same convincing, and it's not a question about convincing. The question is, what's the next strategy? Because apparently, obviously, you have staff members who are afraid to say that this is not, that they're not interested in doing this. So what's the other way of finding the pulse of the people, because this strategy is not accepted. So plan A is not working with staff. So what will be plan B is there one?
I have a thought on that, if I may. We don't know what percent of staff has taken this upbeat. You might know, we don't know, okay?
Right.
And so once again, our job is not to find out how to get it to those disenfranchised people that are not taking the survey. Our job is to say, okay, you only have a 52% completion of this upbeat survey. So that's the kind of information we need. How many people took the survey, right? Then, right, Dr. Rodriguez, okay, we're not getting a good feel for this evidence that the development of the teachers and the culture of the schools is such.
Right.
Okay, so we gotta let them handle.
Right, but I'm not trying to, but what I'm saying is that I don't even have the numbers. So when
That's what I'm saying.
Right,
I agree with you.
So what I am saying is that what I do know is that we don't, like I said, we don't have those numbers, but at the same time, what I have been told is that this is not working for a lot of the teachers. So therefore I'm asking what else that y'all may be doing that may be beating this requirement.
Right.
Is my question.
So we need more information. We need more information, and so that's going to be an area that we're going to ask for some more evidence of compliance for 4.13.
Yes, ma'am.
Got it.
And-
Okay.
And can I say this?
Sure, yes, sir.
Second, those calls too, we have to also understand that the teachers are very busy. And once they look at a survey, that's an extra thing for them to do, and honestly, some of them don't want to do it. And then there's a trust issue, so I get that.
Mhm.
But they say, I don't trust the survey, and I do the same thing you do. I explain to them that it's an anonymous survey, nothing to do with it, and your results are not shared with us. So I believe that's going to take some time. You start to do it the first time, you're not going to get as much. The second time we had an increase in the participation. I think a couple more times we'll get what we need.
Does all of these things take time? Culture shifts take time.
They do, and the numbers don't always tell the entire story. They just tell the percentage that took it.
Exactly.
That's all we know.
Right.
We don't know why the others did not. So,
So
the other part I wanted to mention about 413 is some of these are product, and 413 organizational culture is almost always a process. And so that being said, that's why there's also reference to the administrative regulations. Those are our written assurances that when those are in place, that helps to formulate or helps to develop the culture in the building. And then just annual recognition, things that we do to recognize our folks for excellence. Those are some other pieces in there. And again, it's a process, it's ongoing, it's very cyclical, and it changes with new administrators.
no, please.
And it's just like the evaluation process. When we first started that, it was like, it's a gotcha. So we had to take that off the plate. So when you send out this survey, it's like, it's the gotcha. They have to feel comfortable with this not being I'm about to get you. Then I trust the system. Now that we trusted their process, it's wonderful. The teachers trust it. So they have to trust that we're doing this in their best.
But I also think that from this survey, you're going to find recurring themes. Or you're going to find,
Absolutely.
and those would be very interesting to hear. Okay, we have found that X, so that's the kind of it's kind of information you're gleaning from this survey, and which would be important because unless you know where you are, you don't know how to change it. Right. So percentages, themes, patterns, those are all part of evidence, and you've got your hands on the pulse of the district schools cultures.
And the other thing is, I think too, so there's a couple things with this upbeat. One, is it's supposed to help with teacher retention, right? That seems to be one of their aims. Is that one of the goals with hiring upbeat, is to see if it will help?
That was the main goal.
Okay, so then I think another thing that I would love to see at some point, not, you guys are new in the process, so like you said, it's a process, but at some point we should look back and see if we're achieving that goal, if it's helping with teacher retention. That's something you can present to the board too.
Absolutely. Good point. Okay. Right. Are there any other thoughts, concerns about OE4 or ideas?
In terms too of the compensation benefit, in terms of when you say compensation
Where are you, Mr. Smith?
Oh, 4.9.
4.9, thank you, sir. Okay, compensation and benefits. Okay.
Right, and in terms of that, I know a couple years ago when we voted for a pay increase for certain staff members. And I know a lot of teachers and like bus drivers and different things like that. A lot of them were trying to understand what was the increase in the compensation. Do we not have that nowhere to where publicly or on the website where that is filled out and explained to them with a clear understanding of, when you get compensated whether you get level 2, whether you're level 32, what it entails, whether it's the price, it's the money, whether you get 50 cents or whether you get a $4. Is that not spelled out anywhere?
In terms of levels of individual calculation.
So when we hire, are you referring to new employees being hired?
No, like our compensation. Like make sure the board give them like for instance last year, the board gave a bus drivers we give them a raise.
Mm-hmm.
And several bus drivers were like, well, we didn't ever see the raise and what was the raise? And
Okay, so are you asking for a salary schedule, a staff salary schedule to compare to the previous year's staff salary schedule? Is that, or classified salary schedule?
well just really like,
Because you have that, you keep.
It's all.
And I believe that, I mean,
Yes.
I looked at, there are a lot of charts in here, and I know I saw the compensation, the salary schedules are in the information we received.
so
So what are you asking?
well, but what the question was, I'm asking Mr. Crowder and Ms. Crowder and some other people, they were asking based upon their the rate that they got, what level did they move and how could they tell their pay was any different? Because a lot of them were saying that they didn't see it, they didn't understand it. And so, I mean, for teachers and stuff like that, y'all may understand that a little more versus having someone who's not familiar with the system. And it seemed as though maybe they didn't. I know I sure didn't understand it. But my question is in terms of compensation and benefits, is there a place that is spelled out that exactly specifically tells them, okay, you guys got this raise and this is where you'd be at based upon your level in the district or in your experience?
So let me see if I can, if I can understand what you're asking. So I'll use me and you as an example. I'm a bus driver, you're a bus driver. I have 5 years of experience.
Right.
You have 15 years of experience. So I'm going to get a raise.
Right.
And you're on step 15. I'm on step 5. So my salary raise is going to be a little different than yours based on my experience, the level that I'm already on. So there would not be a chart that I could go to say, I'm going to see what Will's going to make, and then I'm going to see what Alice is going to make, because all of that is calculated based on where you are currently on the schedule. So if we did that, we would have to have one of those for every person, salary level, step that they're on, for them to go and look at themselves. It's all on the individual. So if you get a 1 level increase, it's going to be different for me and it's going to be different for you.
Right, and that's what I believe that exactly what you said is what they were trying to figure out last year. Because some people were saying that we used to y'all said we got the raise, but I don't see the raise. My check hadn't changed. I was like, I'm not sure. That was basically they want to know where could they go at to see exactly the information that you were just asking for themselves. At what level did I move up, or how can I tell?
They can always call HR.
Every pay, they get their direct deposit notice also, and it identifies their pay on it, identifies their hourly rate. So if they have any questions, they can look at what was it before, what is it now? And I can look and I can see what my hourly rate is. And then I can go to my salary schedule, which is published. The last 5 or 6 years are still published on the website. So I can still go to that salary table and determine what my hourly rate is and what level I am being paid on to see if I moved it. And the entire bus driver schedule moved 5%. So the bus drivers now have their own salary table published on the website as well. So They can, again, they can compare their direct deposits every single payday and look at their hourly rate to see where they are on relationship to the salary schedule.
Correct if I'm wrong as well. So what they'd have to look at and see the difference is their first payment in July. Am I correct? Correct. So if they want to see the difference from one year to another, and we probably need to communicate this better with bus drivers, it'll be that first July payment that they can compare to their last June payment. That's where that change is going to occur. Once that changes occur, it's going to stay consistent for the rest of the year. That's their only chance to see that difference. It's going to be the first payment in July. Am I correct in that?
But actually, it'll be the first payment in August.
Right, because they're
With the
paying.
Oh,
they're
that's-
sort of-
I'm sorry.
New school year.
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry. First payment in August.
Yeah.
I think the reason the bus drivers aren't really seeing it is because they're not paid, like Alice and I get paid the same every 2 weeks. But the bus drivers get paid different if they drive a different amount of hours. And so it looks very different. So 5% is not gonna look different if you're driving a different amount of hours every week. And I know, because I pull the bus driver salaries all the time. So it looks very different from week to week. So 5% when your pay fluctuates a couple $100 from week to week is not gonna show up. I know, because I pulled it and showed it to them, that it is different or has changed.
Thank you, I wish I had you a while back, because they would beat me up on it. Oh, man.
It does fluctuate.
They were on me, but I wish it was in there and I apologize.
Jennifer State.
Yes, I wish I.
Robert and I get paid the same thing every 2 weeks, but the bus drivers do not. Very few get paid the same every 2 weeks, because they drive different hours.
Okay, listen, I wish I would do that. I can answer it. Boy, they were hot about that.
But we can always pull it for them and show them what their hourly rate is
But at the same
and what they're
time,
making.
in transportation, we can stress to them that they're about to get that change, so that they can be on the lookout for that and have a better chance for those.
Okay, Ms. Boatright?
It's not really, this is a good conversation, but it's drifted
Yes,
far
so-
from what we.
Right. So there's a wealth of information.
Yeah.
All right, so, any other thoughts? No, then we'll have a motion for OE4. Do I hear a motion?
Just, one
Yes, sir.
last thing. How do we determine what is confidential?
And can you just give us some context?
On 4.8.
Okay, confidentiality, thank you. So you're just asking, when it says protect legally defined confidential information, you want to know what the definition of confidential there is.
Right. Now, how do we classify it? Because, sometimes people, everything will be confidential, but I mean, everything is not really confidential. But so how do we define, what's the process? And maybe that's the best question. What's the process in defining what's confidential and what's not?
So I think I can address it for you, as it relates to the Board of Education. When HR presents any information in executive session, and confidential information is only presented to the board in executive session, then we determine what the board should not hear based on the fact that they could become a jury in the information that's being provided to them at the time. So when I present personnel matters, I'm going to give you only the information, just the background information, because I don't want to put you in a position where you would have to take yourself off of a case that had ever came before you. So confidential information would be any information that would hinder you from making a decision if a case was ever brought before you in terms of an employee.
Sometimes confidential information depends on what we're talking about. The nurse's confidential information is medical, but it's also student information because it's bound by FERPA. So when I'm looking at FOIA, a lot of it would be confidential information, starts with like personally identifiable information. So a lot of it's going to start at like addresses, social security numbers, things that might be the financial information. So we're looking at a lot of stuff that would be, we go through, we look at FERPA things. So we look at all the student stuff that would come through. Then we look at the financial aspects of it. What could financially compromise people? What could allow people out in there to compromise people's identity? So we really, a lot of times it isn't cut and dried. A lot of times we do have a lot of discussion. We may have to contact legal counsel. Is this considered personally identifiable? It isn't always cut and dry, but a lot of times it's bound by legal definitions, and we have to look at the record and whose record it is. And so a lot of times it is a lot of debate on what is. Sometimes what is personal to a public official, like Dr. Rodriguez, is not the same as what it would be for Mullen. So it depends on who it is. So there's really no good cut and dry definition of what is confidential information.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I think that there can be a list because you just gave a vague list on top of your head that things that are confidential. Right. So I think that those things can be inputted in here somewhere, that these are things that the district as the Beaufort Council that we perceive to be confidential, so that therefore it's in writing, and people who are wondering, they can already know that and understand that these are things that the district perceives to be confidential. I mean, not telling y'all, but that's one thing that I personally don't like that Dr. Rodriguez too. I think that could be a piece that could go with this.
But Mrs. Smith, this OE specifically deals with the board. Specifically deals with the board information that's given to you from HR.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I'm done. And then the grievances program, the grievances y'all already had that already, right?
Oh, we have it as something like.
Awesome.
Yep.
No questions.
Okay, so we have
Make a motion?
Make the motion, Mr. Smith?
So I'll make a motion that at OE4 is I make a motion that at OE4 is communicated to the board for approval.
Okay, so I think I always struggle over this. I think we accept an OE, not approve it, right? I think so. Could we change?
That's fine.
I think there's Mr. Stribinger is usually pretty good at the one that tells me we accept them, not approve them.
Second.
Okay.
Yep, you're absolutely right, Tricia. We accept it, we don't approve it.
I'd like to make an amendment to that. I'd like to say with the noted exception of 4.7, job descriptions.
And also 4.3.
Which one was that? 4.7, job descriptions.
And also 4.3.
You want, and I could go with that so that you don't have to make another amendment to my amendment, okay? And 4.13, positive organizational culture, okay? Do we have a second on that amendment?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Yeah, well. It was,
Recommend to the full board.
acceptance of Oe4 in place, you can say in place on the consent agenda.
It's his motion.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right, it was. Mr. Smith?
Yes,
And my amendment is to add also in place on the consent agenda. Okay. So that was my amendment, so that should go by me and second by William. Okay, all right. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Okay. Unanimous. Thank you very much. I know how much work you all do, everybody, and so we greatly appreciate the efforts that went into this, and I hope that you understand the spirit with which we are asking for some additional information. Okay. All right, Ms. Walton. Since you were doing OE2, do you want to do that now, or do you want to go right into our discussion?
Let's just do OE.
Okay, let's go ahead and do OE2.
I have the interpretation here. This is the superintendent's OE.
Mm-hmm.
And do I need to read the policy itself, and you have that in front of me? Everybody has a document, right?
I'm working on, I was working on my computer.
I have it right here, but if you'd like me to. All right, so OE2, the superintendent succession planning. There'll be an emergency succession plan and a non-emergency succession.
I will read the interpretation, superintendent's
Please do.
interpretation. We understand this policy requires the superintendent to identify an individual or person from within the executive team who can temporarily assume the responsibilities of the superintendent in the event of an emergency. Additionally, the superintendent will inform the board regarding any change of the designated individual for board approval. We further understand that to ensure a continuity of services, the superintendent will have a succession plan for the following key district positions: Deputy Superintendent, Chief Instructional Services Officer, Chief Administrative and Human Resources Officer, Chief Operations Officer, Chief Financial Officer, Executive Director of Elementary, Executive Director of Secondary, District Principals, District Principals, Director of Communications, Beaufort County School District Legal Counsel. And the monitoring indicator is the succession plan document is housed in Human Resources, indicating the individuals identified for succession and continuity of services for the Beaufort County School District.
Questions, thoughts?
Very straightforward to me.
I have one question. David, this might be more for you and for Mr. Earl Campbell. This says the superintendent shall designate at least one other executive staff member with board approval. When have we approved this succession? I'm sorry.
Say that again?
We always do. We always do for the emergencies.
Right.
We've never had the non-emergency succession plan.
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. I'll just, my comment on this is, Alice, you nailed it right on the head. I think that interpretation is exactly right.
Right.
Okay.
On here, it is part of my dyslexia, but does he says, it says a whole host of positions, but it says who is in charge directly? Is that?
No, that would be housed in HR, but it also says the person that takes his place the board would have to be notified, especially if that person has changed.
Okay.
And this time the person that takes his place is the deputy?
Well, we're just talking about the interpretation.
Right.
So the actual succession plan would be very interesting to see. Is that a private document?
No.
So is that something that's on our website?
No.
No.
Is it typical to have that on a district website? Just wondering.
Yeah, you guys have like a meeting, who's your designated survivor?
Okay, just wondering. I don't think it's. So, all right, do we have a motion to bring this superintendent's interpretation?
I move that we recommend to the full board acceptance of OE2 Superintendent Succession Planning. I recommend to the full, the operations committee recommends to the full board acceptance of OE2. It's Superintendent Succession Planning.
I think I got confused here. It does, that's why I
But
started.
then I
reading
read it,
that
I was like,
computer. Yeah, exactly, but then I saw the board approval.
Anyone to second my motion?
Okay,
Mr. Smith.
any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye, great, wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Walton, for stepping in and doing that. We appreciate you doing that. Okay. The next item on the agenda is just have a discussion. Okay, and that's all this is. It's just a discussion, no decisions coming out of this committee or recommendation. It's just a discussion because I believe it was back in April or May, we had conversations with you all about compensation. And I don't remember the exact words, and I did listen to at least 3 hours of committee meetings, and I'm sorry, I just didn't get to the exact point where it said, what's your pie in the sky, what's your wish list? I don't remember what we said, but we asked you, what do you as experts think it would take to help attract and retain? So let's have that discussion because you've done some research, you've done some thinking and some thought processing. You want to share with us what some of your thoughts are?
Yes, and I'm gonna, try to keep this contained. We all get excited when we start talking about, compensation and recruiting and retaining and the things that we think we need to do for, our employees. Now, we have a lot of background work in this. We have data, we have comparisons, we look at districts, we look at the country,
Academic research.
academic research, so we have a lot. And we could talk about this for the next 3 hours, but we want to try to keep it to 30 minutes.
Got it.
So you did it on a Friday afternoon, right?
That's right.
That way we can tie your hands a little bit.
That's right. So, if you will notice, we brought to you, several discussion items.
Yes.
And we believe that while salary in itself, well, first of all, our core belief is salary brings them here. Culture keeps them here. That's our core belief. So we lure them here with salary and we do whatever we can to keep them here with our culture and the other things that we offer them in order to let them know that we care about them as employees. So we take care of them. So we brought these discussion items to you. And the first discussion item is the teacher salary and beginning teacher salary. So if you think about beginning teacher salary, then your first question that's going to come to your mind, if you're looking at beginning teachers, how's it going to impact teachers that are already here? Well, this has a continual impact. So if you bring in higher, the ones that you have will be higher as well. So I'm going to ask that we start with comparing to other districts right now. Yeah, you want to start with that. Where are we right now, Beaufort County, compared to our surrounding areas, plus state, plus national?
So when you look at our year zero bachelor's degree new hires, we rank 53rd in the state in year zero out of 77 districts. So we're talking about kids that are coming out of college and may have debt, trying to get established. There are a variety of things that they need in the district in terms of when you move here, you have to have transportation, you have to find a place to live. I mean, there's all of the cost of living expenses that are in there. And it has not always been, we've been 53 in the state. I know when I moved in 03, we were number 1 in the state. So the cost of living was significantly lower in 2003. By the time we get to year 5, however, the salary schedule, we do move up to number 9 out of 77, which is good by year 5 bachelor's degree level.
So by year 5, you go from 53 to 9?
Yes.
I didn't understand.
Yes. So, I mean, looking at other competitive districts, when we look at, I'm going to find the document here. Some of our competitors are Charleston County, Greenville, Myrtle Beach and Horry County, and even Savannah, Georgia. And when we put ourselves against those, I want to find it here.
And that's not in Word docs, right? I didn't see that.
This is not, this is the document that was given back in the spring of 2021.
Can I interrupt just a second? So the numbers, these are based on without the locality supplement, right?
Correct, yes, this is based on,
This is the published schedule.
it is the published schedule, yes. So for example, Greenville, you know, if we started at the $36,000, $37,000 mark, Greenville's around 39,000, Myrtle Beach is a little higher, around 38,000. Then we look at places like Savannah, Georgia, is like $38,000 or $39,000, and Charleston, South Carolina, around $39,000 as well. So, again, it goes back kind of at the cost of living. When you start figuring the cost of living into things, that really makes a major difference in teachers and their wanting to stay and being able to afford to stay.
Yeah.
So that's just, I mean, and you can look, the state publishes a salary table for every district. And I've just kind of taken that and broken it down. Greenville starts off at the number one slide at $41,638.
That's their zero.
That's their year zero.
What are they at year 5?
Year 5, they're at 7th in the state at $42,992.
That's just really interesting because that is, we rocket from 53rd. I'm sorry, I'm speaking in turn. 53rd to 9th. I mean, at year 10, are we 1?
No. It takes the year 23 at the top of our salary schedule to make the top 5.
It's interesting because I thought, you know, the steps were all of equal, like we got on it and then there was sort of a.
Right, but we're also, you have to, I mean, and I don't think you're wrong in that in terms of how our percentage and every step is prorated, but every district does that a little differently. And that's why the numbers fluctuate so much when you're talking about metrics from 77 different districts.
Yeah. I didn't realize there was that much
Yeah.
variability.
Yes.
And then my other question, if you don't mind, do these other places like Greenville and Charleston, do we know if they also have locality supplementing? So we're kind of comparing apples and oranges.
I don't know for sure what the other districts in terms of their locality supplements are. I can't answer that. at this
I
point
was
in time.
wondering if there was
Yeah.
any data on that.
Some do offer incentives, some
Right.
bonuses.
I heard, someone told me that Greenville was offering like significant signing bonuses.
Right, that we do know. The other thing I think it's important though is that all research on teacher retention, we always are looking at that 0 to 5 year range, and it's within 5 years that we lose teachers. I mean, it is a continual revolving door, not just in Beaufort County but nationwide. And you know, it's not unheard of to kind of weight more heavily the 0 to 5 year range in order to get people in so that they can establish financially at least for being able to live in at a I don't even know what the word I'm looking for is, but at a comfortable rate of living. We don't expect to live in extravagance, but it's a quality of life. And one of the things that we know too from research is that the low salary is almost always equated with teachers being considered a semi-profession.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I can go into a lot of detail, a lot of academic research on it, but I don't want to bore you with that. I'm going to turn it over to Dale.
Yeah, and Matt's right. And, you know, we started looking at this, and when we started looking at, okay, what's the salary? You say, you know, our starting salary is $37,928. Well, what is the real number there? Because initially, even though it's $37,928, right from the very beginning, you're taking 30 to 32% off the top. Your taxes, benefits, retirement. So when you look at that number is actually, you know, what they have to spend on a daily basis or a yearly basis is $26,549.60. The Bureau of Labor Statistics, we were doing some research. The average monthly expenses for one person is $5,102 a month for one person. We kind of put a listing together of monthly expenses, and we come up close $3,518 worth of monthly expenses, which equates to over $42,000 a year. So when you take that minus, you know, their net pay of $26,000, they can't have any comfortable living standard at all. They're already in the hole. They're in the red, and that puts them in the red if you're a single income earner, you're at $15,000, $15,666 in the red for the year. So a lot of our teachers are having to work, either go without things, or they have to work 2 jobs. And a lot of them are working food and beverage, and the next thing you know, they're getting off at 1 or 2, and they're not up to their par to teach the next day.
Well, we need more money.
And exactly right.
$50,000 or more at food and beverage. So they, like Kevin said, go with a teacher, go with
And I ran those numbers out, and I had Matt look at it, I had Alice look at it. And we ran the numbers out to 40,000, 45, 47, and 50,000. Even when I run it out to 50,000, a single person still has $42,000 worth of living expenses. They're still $7,216 in the red, even at a $50,000 a year salary. Now, of course, maybe they may not have the car payment, but on an average from looking at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, we've used kind of that as a model to go by as an average. So some of them may not have, car payments. Of course, we know they have insurance, they have gas, they have food costs as well. Some of the housing costs, we only figured out $1,100 for housing costs. That's probably very on the low end. So when you take all of that into consideration, to try to get somebody here on, that kind of a living income is really hard.
Mr. Crawford, excuse me, is student debt in there?
I put education. I didn't even include any student loans because, a lot of times educators are on the continual program. And a lot of times that's deferred until they stop their education. Once their education stops, then they're required to start paying it back. So I didn't take any of that into consideration this year. That is huge. It's huge. It's huge. And ASPA, which is the American Association of School Personnel Administrators, came out with legislative priorities, and some of the information they provided, it says there are serious challenges with the teacher pipeline right now. Low wages for teacher positions have led college students to choose other paths, and high burnout rates have caused many educators to leave the profession. They also mentioned in here that in the past, in the 2000s, normally we were getting upwards of 300 applicants for a position. Now across the nation it's 0 to 5 because we just don't have a pipeline to draw those people into the education field. Post and Courier just recently put out an article as well. The number of teacher vacancies in South Carolina has increased by 88% in the last 2 years. So if the number has increased in the last 2 years, what's going to happen? What's going to happen next year? What's going to happen the following year? And in November 3rd, the Education Superintendent Molly Spearman said the report should serve as a wake-up call for all decision makers at the state, local levels, which is those gathered around the table here, to act quickly to make certain that every child is served by an outstanding teacher and reaches their full potential. We've had, beginning of the school year, we probably had the most vacancies we've ever had, remember, in the last 15 years.
That's nationwide.
And it's nationwide. And if we don't do something drastic, and Matt and I have talked, and I would say that the first district that goes to this level, they're going to reap the rewards and the benefits of drawing the best and the brightest. And we're going to be scratching our heads trying to think of other ways to try to get people here. Gym memberships don't do it. Golden apples don't do it. Gimmicks don't do it. If you're not putting hard cash in their hands and in their pockets and their wallets, you're not going to draw the quality of teachers, and you're not going to fill your vacancies that we need to fill.
Can I chime in on that?
Please.
If you look at the salary schedule, if you look at the salary online, the only way teachers can get in advance is to upgrade their degree. So faster they teach, master's study. So if I'm looking at this and I want to make some money, I'm going to go back to school. They can't afford it. Right. They can't afford it. And we offer programs to get an administrative degree, but once they look at it, I can't do it. Right. So does the district offer any programs to help save.
And that is something a lot of districts are doing. It's like a residency program where while you're teaching, we'll pay for you to get your master's degrees, which, you know, has had mixed results, according to what I've seen.
Well, you know, you do that, then they take their degree and go somewhere.
But then they go somewhere else.
We
That's
have, we have
So
approximately
that's the other part of this equation that we
Yes.
have to talk about too, not just the monetary part of it, but what are we gonna do to keep our teachers once they, you know, feel they can breathe and make some money.
I think one of the things that when we talk about, you know, the cost of living too, we're talking about really a single person here with this 3,518. We're not talking about it, maybe a single parent. We're not talking about, you know, somebody with a family coming down. The first to 50,000 really is an initiative that I think would be something groundbreaking. I think it would put Beaufort County on the map. Jill uses a lot right now, the $5,000 cost of living supplement. And that's a nice carrot to hang in front of people. But the fact of the matter is even with that, and the 36 or 37,928 starting salary, teachers still are having a hard time making ends meet. Whereas to be able to advertise and say the highest paid district in the state would be an advertising tool and a marketing tool, that would be something that would draw folks here and keep them here. Where we're at right now, when you look at the salaries in the surrounding areas, is that we'll have candidates lined up maybe for a position, but if Charleston has that same position lined up, they're not going to wait on Beaufort County to make the job offer. They're going to go wherever they're going to get the higher salary, and that's exactly what they're doing. So,
You have a job fair this weekend and next weekend?
We have a job here every week.
yeah, I was going to say it's an ongoing.
We had
Yes.
one in November. We have business that year.
Jill, talk just a little bit about, how we're recruiting right now in job fairs and how we get the candidates
This year, right now?
right now.
Okay, so,
Before you do, ask your question, is this conversation just around teachers?
So it's a great question, Mr. Smith, and we're really looking at all employees. However, I would like to say, I mean, our class, we have, every employee we have is valuable, and that's why we're considering all of them within looking at this. But this is talking about the certified salary schedule right now, and that's because in teaching and learning, the teacher is where we have to really concentrate and focus. We got to make teaching, classroom teaching, the most attractive option, because that's where the results are achieved.
Right,
Not only that, is you have a compensation
Yes,
study that is
that's correct.
for classified.
For classified.
That-
But also I agree with that, but in teaching, even retaining teachers, there are different components that go with that. It's not just the finances, and I'm having trouble. So it's just not just the finances. There are components that go along with that. So that's why, you know, I don't think we should gear all just towards salary rather than money, cash in hand. I think there's the caveat to that.
Right, Mr. Smith, with that, Ms. Walton began the conversation, you had stepped out, and this is one piece of it, and we realize that, but culture and climate and support and all of those other things, that all plays into it. You're absolutely right. What talking about the salary does though, and increasing the salary, is it takes that issue off the table.
Okay, so let's go back. Jim.
so recruiting, today, I would say, I'd like to say post-pandemic, but we're still kind of in the middle of a hot mess, but everything is virtual for the most part. We are reaching out to, today alone, my team and I reached out to over 3,000 candidates through, web-based programs. We are targeting right now places where there are shoveling snow. We're very strategic in who we're targeting.
They want to go there, but I'm saying.
But you did.
It's a thing for healthcare.
Just a conversation.
Yeah, just a conversation. So we set up interviews all the time, but I'd like to just call them conversations, because we have to build relationships with these people that are virtual strangers to us. Where we typically go is we try to talk them if they're a brand new candidate, fresh out of school, or they're gonna graduate. Do you have a friend that also teaches math that you'd like to move with? We go down that trail hard and heavy, because if they move with a friend, they can cut everything in half. We've had some real good success with that. But to Ms. Walton's question, everything right now has been online, virtual. The kids have been very open to that. It's been very successful. For the most part, in the number of people we're reaching, our candidate pool for our February job fair, we already have over 100 people in AppleTrack ready to interview in February.
Right, right. Mr. Smith, to your point, you're exactly right. There is the other side, other than them, is keeping them, changing, what can we do and so on. But for this discussion only, that's quite a tagline, first to 50. That's quite a tagline. I could see what that would be.
You're gonna share this with you? Currently in Beaufort County, we have 905 certified employees.
That are not working.
That are not working.
That are not working.
So that,
Okay.
that 50,000. Oh, you certified?
Yes.
I probably got to call you tomorrow.
I'm on it.
Get her a card.
And then in the other part to make a decision to raise rate, to raise salaries. I don't think that would work.
But, I will say to that point, I'm the daughter of 2 high school teachers. And so, I understand the salary thing. $50,000 would not bring my mother out of retirement. I mean, we just had 6 school lockdowns today. I don't know if salaries and things
Now-
going back to retired teachers.
Now, I'm also looking at the numbers.
But, and it's not just retired folks.
Yeah, it's not just.
Not just
I
retired.
have,
No.
I have, we got over 30 some, so I have some with 4 years, 3 years, 6 years, 5 years.
Right.
That are all in. that are-
Is it possible that they're in the private schools?
It doesn't tell me where they are, it just tells me that these are certified employees in Beaufort County.
Not,
Based on their
Because I know several
certification of the
But
state
if
department.
if they were teaching anywhere, it would be a website.
Yeah.
It would say something,
Give it
like
back to
this, just would give a district.
Okay, so you're not.
Okay, so we know the teachers that have gone to others.
Yes.
If
Private
they're
schools, they're not counted.
These
as
are,
that.
yeah, these are all certified educators that are not employed in this.
Okay, so that begs the question, so why?
Well-
To Mr. Smith's point, all these other reasons why people are leaving the classroom.
that's right. And I will tell you, 2 years ago, we did this same presentation with the numbers of certified folk in Beaufort County that were not employed in the school. And it was 637, and that was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, what's the number today?
905.
905. So what are your thoughts on the non-monetized? Unless do you want to finish going through this, some of the other ideas, or do you? and then-
Well, some of the other ones we were just talking about, just throwing around some other ideas that maybe we could utilize as, retention issues,
Mhm.
sick days for once.
Yes.
When an educator or an employee spends, 8 years maximizing their sick leave and they're at the limits of 90 days, and should they reach retirement time, it's really a shame that we only pay them $10 a day for.
It's an insult.
It is an insult, an absolute insult. So we're thinking that, okay, along the way, they're losing days, and at the end of the year, or at the end of their career, they're selling days back. We bounced around the idea of, so I'm at 90 days, I still have a few years to retire. I'm still losing my days because I'm coming to work. Why can't we, at the end of the school year or the beginning of the next school year, pull a list of employees who have lost days because they're coming to work and not pay them out, recoup them for their lost days at their daily rate? They've earned it, we should pay them for it.
Do we have the power to do that? Because someone had mentioned that to me before, and someone said, oh, that's a state.
It's not a state issue. It's an internal issue.
So Beaufort County makes a decision to pay
Yes.
$10 an hour?
Yes.
Other districts are paying more than $10
No,
an hour?
some districts,
Per hour, we can maybe live with.
some district, I canvassed some of the other districts, some, they don't pay at all. One district pays $45 a day when somebody retires. 4 other districts that I talked to, anything when they retire. So it's a district issue. We also talked about upon retirement, rewarding those. Of course, there will be limitations on
Service in Beaufort
Yeah.
County.
If you come here from Jasper with 90 days and expect to get paid out, that, we don't believe that you should. You should only get paid for the days that you have earned while being a member of the Beaufort County School District team. We also believe that, upon retirement, that if you earn 90 days, you should get paid out your daily rate for 90 days and not a $10 a day rate, which is $900.
And $50,000 a year, what's the hourly rate for a teacher?
$14.25.
Are you only counting school hours and?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we.
Divided by 190 divided by.
I'm just wondering what the other employers offer. Be able to do that.
Still get you 3508, 3509.
And then.
But that's for those, I mean,
Yeah.
nobody just puts 7 hours.
Yeah.
Right, and it's that part of,
Parents that were both teachers and still on their Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
that's before
When
taxes.
Mr. Dees left Savannah, he had all these hours accumulated. They
90
paid him,
days.
they paid him his daily rate for the days that he had accrued when he left.
And that was resigning, that was resigning. I mean, that wasn't retiring, that was resigning, so. And I didn't know that until I was resigning, and I was expecting a check.
Yeah.
Based on my daily rate for up to 90 days.
Okay, and that would help, I mean, that would help with some daily absentee rates.
It would, yes.
And it would help with elevate the profession to, you know, I think that's an interesting idea. Remember, this is for discussion only.
Right.
Because if you look at the total number of absences and the costs since 2017, you know, we've had over $3 million, over $2 million. This year, we're over $1 million in absences as far as we're paying
For
ESS for substitutes.
ESS.
And Dale, can you mention what you and I talked about? We brought this up before that. It's the amount of academic hours.
Oh, yes, the
number of student.
The number of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, the number of hours.
If you didn't get a set.
You can get us up, yes, and even if that, you know, it's the amount of academic instruction lost. Yeah.
2018, 2019, 283,506 hours. 2019, 2020, 174,774 hours.
But how easy for a teacher, not easy, but how justifiable a teacher may feel when they have they already banked 90 days.
Yeah.
They can't save anymore and they need a mental health day.
Yes.
I mean, it's just, it would give teachers pause and say, hey, listen, I'm getting paid my daily rate if yeah.
Well, here's what it encourages. Look at, I have 90 days, my days are max.
Mhm.
So when I look at my days, and you look at Munis, it says, what does it say? What's the verb? Taking apps. Yeah, accrual apps. So you're taking a day from me, and I'm coming to work, and I'm saying, why are you taking a day from me? Let that accumulate. Take from that, but you're punishing me for coming to work. You're taking a day away from me.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. All right.
And I pulled a list of on page the next page that talks about the accrual lapse, and I pulled the number of days for the accrual lapse, what those days cost, also what we paid out the last 4 years for people retiring at $10 and at their daily rate, what it would have cost us.
What they earned. I mean.
What they earned. They earned.
What they earned.
So those are
Industry would pay them.
industry would pay them for their days and their time that they've accrued.
Yeah.
So that's one idea.
Okay.
Another discussion, item 3, is we pay the locality in 2 payments. First payment is December, the second payment is in May. We normally get a high number of resignations right after the first locality payment. So which is in December. So that causes us to have to, fill those positions prior to school returning back in January. And the application pool by then is,
It's not,
Yeah, sure.
it's a drop.
Yeah.
so we're recommending that if we can maintain the locality supplement that we paid at the end of the school year. And in order to receive it, you have to be an active employee of the district in order to receive that payment, just like we do now.
What numbers are we talking? How many resignations do we have? I mean,
We've had years where there's been 36, we've had 40, we've had 15. So it's really hard to
entire
gauge.
schools with faculty.
Well,
It is.
the other part of that argument though is we make them, but if they were going to retire, if they're unhappy, can we say, okay, you gotta hang in, I don't know if we're getting the best out of, you know what I mean? I don't know what the.
Probably not, but at some point in time because right now there are no consequences. A certificate isn't sanctioned at the state level. People can just walk and leave children and leave organizations.
With the, we give them some couple $100 for classroom supplies, and I guess a lot of people wait until.
Right.
Yeah, and that just, we might need to start, because I guess this year it was really bad. Looking at, we're one of the few districts that, this is what I've been told. I don't know, we're one of the few districts that do not ding certificates in that situation.
Correct.
But that we may need to talk about that because, yeah.
Yeah, and again, and it's not, I mean, it's the whole school organization. You cannot build culture when you have people leaving, and now all of a sudden, my kids have to be spread among the rest of the teachers, right? So kids in those classes are being harmed, and then kids that the teacher left from are being harmed too, so it's a cost to kids. It's going to be exponential as the future, and as the future goes along, particularly when we're talking about learning loss right now, and it's just gonna continue to be exponential.
Okay.
And so we're not getting the best, out of the teachers, if we hold that check until the end of the school year. Correct. But here's what we do have, we have certified to teaching on those kids, whether in an empty classroom, dividing the classroom.
And I'm just saying it's the other part of the argument is if they're looking to leave and they're not happy or they're done.
Right.
And then we say.
They'll finish out the year.
Yeah.
Because right now they're waiting on the locality supplement, because I've been called and asked, how long do I have to stay to get that locality supplement? Remember the calls I made to you? They want to know what date can they receive.
Right.
So another question I have that is, I'm sorry, no.
I'm sorry, they know.
They do. They do know.
They know.
They know.
You know, one of the issues with salary, if it, let's say the $50,000, it's just, you know, like in New York is nothing compared to $50,000.
Exactly.
But that's actually a county level. $50,000 on Hilton Head does not go as far as $50,000 in Sheldon or on Ladies Island. And I don't know, we have a very big spectrum of housing affordability. So I know a lot of the teachers that live on Hilton Head already, in fact, I was talking to a new teacher and he was just, I don't think he knew I was on the board, we were just chatting. He said, yeah, unless you're already on the island, because there are no houses under 500,000, you're not going to live. And now, of course, that keeps pushing out. So now there are teachers living in Jasper County, close to Savannah, which is going to put my district at a huge disadvantage. Is there any way to think about that in different terms? I mean, I just don't know at what point, no matter what we do, Hilton Head is going to be impacted.
I still think you consider raising the salary and you still implemented $5,000 locality supplement.
The district would implement on top of the 50,000. So now we're 55,000 for salary.
Yeah, I think the 50,000 is just the reason why I think that's such an important number is because it's year zero. So we have to consider, I mean, if you have teachers that are higher in year 2, year 3, it's going to be easier for them to find because they're going to have more. So, I mean, it's going to be an across the board increase. So, and that's, I mean, year 0 is that starting point, but as they get older and they get more experience and they gain more education, they're going to obviously make more. The other thing I would like to mention too, and I know Mr. Smith that you question a lot about minority teachers. And one of the things that the research tells us too is that we can recruit oftentimes minority teachers, but minority teachers also leave the field a lot faster than white teachers do. One of the reasons for that is because of the status that a salary carries. And so having a status that is associated with a starting salary of $50,000 tends to keep minority teachers in the field much longer as well. And that is an area that we work to try to fill every year. So.
Okay.
Well, just to close on where we were. My concern is that just not teachers, because when I say that we are discussing teachers about having teachers in front of kids right now. There's other school districts like Savannah who are putting different people in front of kids right now due to where the country's at right now. And so I just want to everybody need to always keep those channels open. Unfortunately, you may want to be a certified teacher, but the question I would ask if we can't get them and no telling how much more rich is going to be going in this player now. I should hope that we do have a backup, or we have thought about if we do come up with a huge shortage, how we'll be able to combat that without certified teachers. And also, I know, but
yeah, there's no way, Mr. Smith. I mean, we can't. It doesn't matter that there's a warm body in the classroom, because at the ultimate end, like our business, our purpose for existing as a school district is teaching and learning. Period. And so if that's the case, then we have to put a priority on classroom teachers. We have to make the classroom teacher job the most attractive option in the district. And it's not to say and diminish anybody else's importance, but if we don't have certified person that's gone college trained in that classroom with those kids, there's going to be learning loss that won't be able to be overcome.
And the whole district loses accreditation.
And the whole district loses accreditation.
Right,
It's a state law difference. Georgia has some things that allow.
Okay, Georgia allow.
Yeah.
Okay.
South Carolina does not.
Their constitution a little different. So.
Okay, well, that speaks to that piece. But in terms, I notice now that I see that we have some administrators who substitute for administrators. How do we use them? Like when like certain administrators out, like Mrs. Goodwin was out, we used
Ms. Matthews.
Yes.
right. So how we use them? How are they falling in the fold? What are they using? What are they district employees? How are we able to use them?
No, they're part-time temporary employees. They're not full, they're not employees of the district like a regular employee. We use them like we use retired mentors.
Yes.
They're on a retired rotating schedule. So if we need some extra administrative help, they can come in and help us with that. When Ms. Lewis was out, her evaluation processes were lagging. Her teachers were getting behind, and we did not want those evaluations to be counted nullable. So we contracted with Ms. Matthews to go over. She's excellent with evaluations, to get those evaluations on track. And she did that. She stayed there for 2 weeks, and then she's gone. And she'll do that in any building that we need some help administratively. If there's a discipline issue and you need an extra administrative body in there, then we put them in there temporarily.
And your certification as well.
And they all have to be certified.
So my question is, how many? We don't have enough of those out there to fill some to possibly to help with the shortage.
I don't want to.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. And I'm in daily contact with ESS. ESS is where we recruit and hire our subs from, and they've had recruiting events ongoing. And it's just people don't want to sub for $90 a day.
That's right, $90
And
a
if they
day.
get a certified ESS, so we try to hire.
Yeah.
They have a certificate.
Right. And Jill and her team.
If we could just spend maybe 5 minutes, because I think, you know, this has been great conversation, it's fabulous information. I know it's right now just for discussion, and I sincerely hope you all are continuing discussion with finance and Dr. Rodriguez and everything. But what about the non-monetary concerns? I know teacher, actually I spoke to this teacher. She said she would so be happy to stay in the classroom if she didn't have the extra duties. But having lunch duty and having this duty. And I said, well, how much extra stipend would help you? She goes, no, I need time. I need time. So what are some of those thoughts? What are some of the non-monetized ideas?
So one of the things we try to do, Ms. Richard, this past 2 years, but COVID happened
Yeah.
and everything just went to pot. We used ESS to put perm building subs in every building, so that there would be 2 extra bodies in every building every day. So they could call a sub in, and if they had extra, they could use those subs to relieve teachers, to maybe take a class here and there, to just take the pressure off teachers, especially lunch duty. You can have those people manage the cafeteria all day long. That could happen, and we could do more of that. Once we get bodies in place that we can hire, then we can continue to do that. We can tell ESS to put 5 people with it. That's not a teacher, it's not connected to a class, that a principal can use to relieve some of the stress on the teachers. And if they're certified, they can take periods to give a teacher a break, especially at the elementary level, because they don't get a break. So you can have someone that can do just breaks for teachers.
So at what point do you decide those 5 people? I know we don't have them right now because the human resource pool out there is small. So people don't want to sell people. Okay. At what point do you guys, and what data do you use to say, okay, we're going to put 5 in every building? I mean, is that from the Upbeat survey? Is that from, at what point do we say we have to make a change because We can't keep teachers. They're leaving because of behavior of the students. They're leaving because they don't get a break all day. Like you said, elementary school teachers don't get a break all day. They're leaving, kids are eating lunch in their classrooms now because of COVID, and in some schools, maybe, depends on how many kids, but you know what I'm saying? What's the trigger? Are you all?
We're already.
So you would say that you would increase the number of permanent subs in a building?
I would, because we're there. We get the complaints. We get the calls all the time. Teachers are more than ever saying, I just can't do this.
Right.
We know that is there. No subs, they are in cover classes. We did at least get to the point where we can pay them for the classes. But even that's not, they don't even want to be paid.
I know, they don't, they want time.
They just want their time. Don't pay me, I want time. So we're there, we just need the bottom.
Yes, it's a supply and demand, because we can say we're gonna staff with 5 certified subs. There are not 5 certified subs out there for 33 schools. The point being is, if we start with what's important, certified teachers, pay them what they are worth, allow them a quality of life. The bodies will be there such that when we have then the 2 or 3 subs, that will be able to make a marked difference in that building. I mean, we are in crisis right now.
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah, I think the country, it's been coming for a while. I think COVID just made it worse for,
Exacerbated it.
Because my parents were having conversations back in the 90s. So one thing is, if you are a Beaufort County student, high school student right now, low income, and you want to go to college and become a teacher, is there any way, I know this is a long-term thing, but we thought about, because a lot of these people want to come back to their hometown and live here with their parents and their families, and they have the support. Is there ever any talk of creating a pipeline? I don't think you can get a teaching certificate for USCB, can you?
Elementary.
I can speak to
Yeah,
this.
joking.
We do have programs in our high schools. It's called Teacher Cadets.
Yeah, I think teacher cadet. To be honest, I think teacher cadet sometimes is an elective that some people sign up for.
I think you're right. You're right. But we are going into the high schools to talk to kids about being teachers. Frankly, kids say, I don't want to be a teacher because I don't deal with people like me.
I talked to one this morning who she said she wants to go to school to be a teacher. I talked to one of my students this morning.
Yeah, but if you talk about, if you have the heart of a teacher, and I've been a teacher, I've been a principal, if you talk about good experiences of being a teacher and seeing the light bulb come on and all those things, you can talk to kids about becoming teachers.
Because what worries me with the crisis is the amount of people that are graduating in education. I mean, the pool is shrinking. It's not like we're not attracting all these great candidates who
They're not there.
they're just, no one wants to do it anymore.
And I'd also like to say more and more folks that are fresh out of school are opting to live at home with their parents for the first couple of years to get their loans paid back. And this is hurting us as well.
Well, I've got a daughter who's about to graduate from college. I don't expect her to make $50,000 a year. Really, that she's probably going to need some support additionally for a little while. It's just the salary. So we're not commensurate with the cost of living. That generation is very bitter.
Again, going back to their salary, they'll stay with their parents to get that bachelor's plus 18, that master's, that PhD. They know that up to pay. Right. So they're going to wait until they get it done, answer to for them, and then they'll come back.
Well, that's what I like about having our local students paying for their or helping them pay for college to come back and, loan forgiveness to come back. Because it's hard to attract young people to Beaufort County, South Carolina, unless they're from here. I don't expect my kids to live here. They might come back here, but I expect them to go out and live in the city here, for a while.
And also USCB is probably our greatest pipeline, honestly. And they do have a high school math program. Right now we have 2 high school math folks that are graduating in December. We just need to keep them here.
Keep them. Yeah.
Keep them.
Okay.
I know we talked about an international program, but that is really helpful.
The visa
Participate and
We don't sponsor these.
we have a group that just came in and from TPG, and we just met with all of our international teachers, kind of done like a traditional Thanksgiving meal. And I wish, she didn't get to see it, because you had a meeting, a board meeting. They're absolutely fabulous.
And
To
are we,
be here and, you know, enthusiastic about teaching our kids. I want you guys, I wish you guys could meet them. They are.
Yeah, as long as their visa allows, and I know that's a whole nother topic.
are we making moves on that? We had that presentation. Keep bringing it up.
Yeah,
Was for discussion only, so that I'm not gonna ask for any motions or, you know, anything, but, I can say it for myself. I have heard you loud and clear, and I so appreciate how much effort you put into this and thought you put into that. Okay?
No, I would agree. I mean, you know, the research you guys have and the numbers and the process, I think what's important right now too is to recognize the process you guys are going through. Because if we do ever come up with a number or salary base, it's on board members to go to our constituents and sell it and say, this is what we need to do, this is why we need to do it, here's what this looks like. Because there will be a reflexive pushback, right? I mean, that's just.
that you're gonna have.
But if I can take what you've got and put it together in a good format, and I can go to my constituents in my district and say, here's why we're doing it, you know, I think that that's really important.
Now, we're the largest employer in the county, and you need to be the best employer in the county. I think those two things go hand in hand. So, thank you very much for hearing us out on this. It's a conversation that's, I think, needs to be had. I would like to say, I don't think it's, if we decide to move forward in some direction, when that time comes, it would probably be better not to phase it in over a 3-year process. And the reason being is just that the way cost of living is going right now, a 3-year process is not going to get us the immediate gains that we anticipate. So,
Well, I'll tell you one concern I will have. I'll have is that teachers are good, but teachers don't do it by themselves. And we have too many other groups out there who are very cognizant and very upfront. That are saying, you know, every time we talk, your guys, you're just talking about teachers. Teachers can't do it. If I don't pick those kids up in the morning, teachers can't do it without me. If I'm not assisting those teachers in this classroom, they can't do it without me.
right.
So that's why the thousands and thousands of dollars are being spent on that compensation study that does not include teachers.
Right, but I get you, but I don't want to lose my point. My point is this: is that all this sounds good, but let's not just. Well, I can't speak about the board members, but I'm gonna tell you upfront. I'm just not gonna be just try to have tunnel vision on moving teachers up, because I already get the flack for people who are not certified, who are your nurses who have a certification, who have a piece of degree. I mean, and who have a certification the same way teachers have a certification. So these people are not.
One of the recommendations.
Right.
In the salary stuff.
Right. But today, but I understand. But my point is today we're talking about teachers. I'm just saying when you bring one, then please bring all. Is my delivery, because I've been tackled enough with that saying that every time y'all talk, the lead thing that come out your mouth is teachers. That's all. That's my point.
Yes, Ms. Walton.
I'm going to respectfully object to your statement, Mr. Smith. I'm going to say this. One of my goals when I came into HR was to make sure that we did not create classes of employees in terms of separation. What we did for one class, we did for the other. Classified staff is just as important to us as certified staff.
Right.
And in fact, to prove that to you, Mr. Smith, I'm going to bring a recommendation to you on Tuesday night on the 14th. And I'm going to ask for your support to support classified staff because of all the hard work they do. We recognize it in HR. We work hard to do it in HR. My staff understands it, and they can tell you how I feel about classified staff. Any one of them can tell you that because I make it really clear that we are not creating classes in employees.
And I understand that response, but just to speak to that, I hear what you're saying. But at the end of the day, I know what I'm getting from the community and what people are telling me. And so, you know, in terms of, let me give you an example. Classified staff say, well, look here, well, you give out a locality supplement. In the locality, you give out $250 to classifieds, and the certified, you give out $5,000. Right, but at the end of the day, it's still, the board still take a recommendation. I don't remember me being on the board when a recommendation came and said, we give both of them $5,000. I mean, I just don't remember that. And that's not to go into any conversation. I'm just saying that I don't remember saying that. But and my point is just, I always said, my mom said, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And it comes to me, it may come to y'all, but it comes to me as a board member. And I'm just telling you what people perceive and what they give me. And again, that right now, the key for one rate is teacher retention. People are like, well, what about us? So I'll leave with that.
And we've said everybody's important, and I think we've made that clear from our team, but also, Mr. Smith, I will say that teachers are held accountable for academic achievement data.
But it takes us all to do
Okay.
it. We don't disagree.
Right, I just want to thank everybody for their work, district staff, teachers, classified, everybody. So, motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.